following is a presentation of the Retro Network.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Retro Resurgence Podcast, episode 25. We are kicking off year 2 of the show. If you listened last episode to episode 24, you know that we have a couple changes coming to the show for our second year, and we'll get into that in a little bit, but I have to introduce my podcast partner from the last year, ready to kick off year 2. Chad, what's going on?
Hey Ken, good evening, and looking forward to another great year of podcasting with you, man.
Yeah, same. Like we said, year 2, we got a couple new things going on. We're going to have a new segment. We've kind of cut down the show a little bit, kind of streamlined it to maybe make little bit shorter episodes, but still the same old Retro Resurgence goodness. So yeah, I'm excited.
We can call ourselves the lean, mean Retro Resurgence machine, man.
Yeah, dude.
Trimming some of the fat off.
Yeah, man. As we get older, we all kind of need to do that anyway a little bit. So we're doing that to the show.
Absolutely, man. Well, it's a pleasure to be recording with you again. I know we have a cool topic underway. Do we have any feedback from our episode of our 1-year anniversary episode?
Yeah, we got a couple pieces of feedback. I'll go into the first one here. Always, we mentioned our loyal listener, Gerospace, and we kind of gave him a shout out. And he responded to us from last episode saying, "Thank you so much for the kind words, guys. Makes me feel great. As for my favorite episodes, I have to go with the ABCs of toys. So much nostalgia packed into that episode that really hit home for me. Congrats on the 1 year of awesomeness. I appreciate all of your hard work entertaining us listeners." Well, we thank you for listening, Gerospace. Thanks for the kind comment there. And then we also had another piece of feedback from our buddy Jim over there at the Busy Signal Cast. And he said, "Great episode. Happy 1 year. Glad to have been a small part of it. Cheers to another year, dudes." So that was our feedback. Yeah, Jim and Gerospace, we got some loyal listeners there. We had Jim on episode 23. And yeah, that's what we have for feedback. You got anything to add?
No, we thank them for listening, and we thank any new listeners out there. Encourage you guys to reach out to us on Instagram. Let us know you're listening. We'd love to give you a little shout out with a comment that you might make there over on Instagram, Twitter. Ken, we want to talk about some of our changes. One of our changes is, as you're listening to this episode, you hear new theme music. Props to Ken there. He kind of tweaked a little bit with the show theme and got a little radio dial static kind of thing going on. I like it.
Yeah, I was kind of messing around and I thought that'd be kind of cool to do the radio tuning on the dial and yeah, put some new music in there, kind of freshen it up a bit. Yep.
And of course, you guys, as you're listening to this, when you go to our socials and you go to our website, you'll see our new logo, our new and improved version 2 logo of Retro Resurgence. Give a nod to arcade games and arcade cabinets, one of our favorite topics here.
Yeah, Chad, I really liked what you did with the new graphic with the arcade style. And we also have a refreshed website that I got to give all the credit to you, Chad, because if it wasn't for you, I'd be totally lost on all that. And you freshened it up, got some new colors. You got a little crawl going across the top of the screen. And yeah, man, I give you props. I really like the new website.
Thank you. Yeah, the website, it's been part of our existence ever since the beginning, but I hope that in year 2 we can kind of put some more content out there on the website, written articles, photos. We link it to our social medias and, those websites, just trying to, when you go there, you'll see all kinds of stuff that draws your attention. But you want to find out more about Ken's and his Toy Time Warp, you'll be able to see a link right there to that. And of course, our Nostalgia Oasis blog, our podcast, everything there over at the retroresurgence.com. Check it out and comment on articles. Let us know what you think.
Yeah, definitely let us know what you think. We thank you for listening and subscribing. So, what do you say, Chad? Why don't we kick off year 2 with one of our new segments, the Nostalgia Oasis News?
Let's do it.
All right, Chad, like we said, a new segment here on the podcast. We like to call it Nostalgia Oasis News, where you and I are going to do maybe a little just 5-minute news story on something that's new of today in the news, but like we always like to do, retro in nature. So, what do you got for your first news story?
Well, listeners, as you listen to this podcast, this will have already happened, but on Sunday, September 21st, week 3 in the NFL. Of course, NFL kicked off a few weeks ago, and it's been a great start to the season. But when week 3 is going to be special for a certain channel, CBS, because CBS is celebrating their 50th anniversary of their pregame show, the NFL Today. And it's really cool because as we're recording this, of course, it has not happened, but as you listen, you will be able to maybe have seen this. But week 3 is going to be significant. In honor of the show's 50th birthday, CBS Sports is basically going to give viewers, take them back in time, paying homage to the groundbreaking studio show that altered the landscape of sports TV. It's going to be a week-long celebration, but it's going to be highlighted by a vintage edition of the NFL Today, which airs on Sunday at noon. It's going to be very retro. You're going to have the old school retro graphics, the retro theme music, and they say that it's going to be innovative technology, including a virtual recreation of the 1975 NFL Today set. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, like I'm a sucker for anything that kind of throws it back to the 70s or 80s or 90s. And, if you think about the advent of TV and in 1975, TV was something that not every household had. It was just so groundbreaking to see TV. And then, of course, the advent of color TV. That really is what helped the NFL in their popularity, is because they became a TV sport. Reading stuff on the internet, things like that, I've always known that baseball was America's pastime because, a lot of baseball games back in the old days, you listen to them on the radio. And baseball, I guess, is one of those kind of sports where a radio personality can kind of paint the picture. However, in football, it's kind of hard to recreate all the tackles and the runs and the catches and the throws. So when television came along, the NFL just benefited heavily on that. And of course, what better way to introduce your sport than to have a pregame show? And CBS was one of the first channels to do a pregame show. I think it's going to be cool because they are even going to have the original host, Brent Musburger, back, who was the original host back in 1975. And he will join the current gang, which is current host James Brown, alongside the analysts Bill Cowher, Nate Burleson, and Matt Ryan. I just think it's just going to be a real cool throwback. Ken, just your article a few weeks ago about the throwback NFL helmets and jerseys.
Yeah.
And man, a cool thing to do would be to also, like they're planning to do, is have a throwback television pregame show. So I'm excited. The graphics are going to be very of the times, but it's the NFL does a good job, I think, of doing the throwbacks. And it's nice that they don't do them all the time, because like if they did, it would get kind of stale and kind of boring. But when a team comes out in their throwback uniforms, it just draws up a lot of nostalgia for a lot of sports fans, So I'm excited to see it. I'll be watching. But of course, as you're hearing this would have already happened. So if you missed it, go back on YouTube and maybe catch some of the pregame show and just look at the cool vintage graphic TV art that they're going to plan on doing.
Yeah, I didn't know that they were going to do all that. So that's the first time I'm hearing it from you. And 4 words, Chad: you are looking live. Brett Musburger. Man, when I was a kid in like 79, 80, 81, man, I would get excited when that show came on, and they would go look live into a lot of the stadiums of the NFL, and they had, of course, at the time they were throwback, but you had the vintage helmets and the teams that were playing that day. And you had a classic group there: Brett Musburger, Jimmy the Greek, Irv Cross. Man, all those guys. I really loved watching that when I was a little kid, and I'm excited for it. I'll be watching too.
Yeah, Brent Musburger is one of the goats of broadcasting, I think, and
For sure.
he lasted on the NFL Today until I think the 1990 season, and then in 1990, the NFL Today they revamped its lineup, and they brought in Greg Gumbel, who we lost last December,
Yeah.
along with Terry Bradshaw, Pat O'Brien, and Leslie Visser, and
Yeah, that was
that was in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And, Greg Gumbel was the host for pretty much the 90s and the 2000s. And then, as of maybe the mid 2010s, James Brown was brought in to replace Greg Gumbel. So, a lot of hosts and analysts have come in and out. I know Boomer Esiason, Shannon Sharp, Dan Marino, I think was an analyst at one time. This is kind of the show that made it standard to bring back athletes to talk about sport, and now we see every channel, every sports channel, right, has a former athlete. You get the perspective of an athlete, and it just gives the game more of a touch of realism. It's rooted in their playing experience. So anyway, I love football. I know you're a football fan. I'll be watching, but if you have, like I said, if you missed it, go out back on YouTube and catch some of the clips of the pregame show.
Well, that was a good story, Chad, to start off our new segment here on the show, the Nostalgia Oasis News, with NFL being on CBS for 50 years. So we'll get into my new story now, and this is going to be about a video game that's going to be released sometime next year of 2026. There's no official date yet, but the company TT Games, which makes Lego video games, and they were behind the award-winning Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, and there is going to be a new Lego Batman game coming out next year called Legacy of the Dark Knight. So basically what they did with the Star Wars game is you could play all 9 movies, and it's open world, and there's little side stories and side missions you can do. And it looks like this game is going to follow in those footsteps. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to play all of the different Batman movies, starting with the 89 Keaton movie and then going forward, but it looks like you're going to have quite a few characters to play as. You'll be, of course, Batman, which I'm sure will have many iterations of him in the game, different costumes and things like that. And then you're also going to be able to play characters like Jim Gordon, Catwoman, Robin, Nightwing, and Batgirl. And then, of course, you'll have your Batman's Rogue Gallery, the Joker, Penguin, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Bane, and I'm sure there'll be more in probably DLC content and things like that. Do you play the Lego games at all?
No, I haven't. I've seen, several of the Lego movies, and this thing though looks really good, really smooth graphics. It looks like it's going to be like Xbox, PlayStation, Steam.
Yeah, I think also the Nintendo Switch 2 it'll be available on. But yeah, these games are really cool. They really get into detail. Like I said, it's open world. The one thing that's got me excited about this game is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Batman Arkham games that came out in the early teens, like 2010, 2012, Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Origins. I don't know if you're familiar with those games.
No, not really. Since I've been a new dad last few years, video games have kind of escaped me, but
okay. Yeah, but it looks like the fighting style that came out of those games is going to be incorporated into this game. So that's pretty cool. Like, it has smooth fighting, grappling, gliding. Looks like you're going to, of course, have your choice of Batmobiles to choose from. And looks like they even included the newest Batman movie, the Robert Pattinson, the Batman. So that's going to be included in this game. And then It says drive through the open world with agility and speed while discovering crimes, challenges, rewards, secrets, and iconic landmarks such as Arkham Asylum, Ace Chemicals, and Wayne Tower. So yeah, that's about really all I have for this little news story. I just kind of wanted to talk about it. I'm big into the Lego games, and if it's anything like the Star Wars one that came out a few years ago, this one looks like it's going to be really cool. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that one for my first news story on the news segment here.
Yeah, I hope they have a nod to the Batman 66 movie somewhere in the game as well. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I think they will. Hopefully, yeah, like I said, the 89 Batman's in there as well, but I don't know when this game comes out. It just says 2026, but I'm probably definitely going to buy it.
Yeah, we'll look for it to release sometime next year.
Yep.
You're tuned in to the Retro Resurgence Podcast, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Discover the legendary Q106.5 in your car, on your smart speaker, on your phone. Browse to Q1065.com. 80s, 90s. This is a radio station with a vibe. Download our app or listen online. Search at Q1065 Radio on social media. The Q is your favorite radio station. Discover Q106.5 and hear the 80s and 90s hits on the radio station with personality. Q106.5.
All right, Ken, well, year 2 underway, and we have our first topic here on the new and improved Retro Resurgence Podcast. Our topic, as we explained to the folks last episode, it was my choice this time, and my choice was I was thinking about how we could talk about pro wrestling, the good old days, and I always thinking about those funny moments, whether they were scripted or unscripted. And I said, you know what, let's do a Mount Rushmore format show. As the listeners may know from our previous shows, our Mount Rushmore episodes basically have us choosing and agreeing on the top 4 of the chosen topic. So this week, we're going to choose pro wrestling's most comical moments. Now, if you think back to the modern era of pro wrestling, and I'm saying the modern era being the 80s up until, I guess, today. I don't watch a whole lot of wrestling today, I'll be honest. Ever since in my early 20s, I've kind of fallen away from pro wrestling. I do kind of keep one eye kind of on the sport, but I'm not a big watcher like I was in the mid to late 90s and early 2000s. But I thought about a whole bunch of moments, and I know you, Ken, as well, as you have definitely some nostalgia there for wrestling. So what we're going to do, again, we're just going to talk about pro wrestling's most comical moments. And Ken, was this easy for you like it was for me to think of these moments?
The first 2 came to my mind right away, so I knew that those had to go on right away. And then it was just kind of a matter of some other ones that I could recall that were funny to me. So I think, like I told you, I think we're going to have a couple maybe that match, but I still think we're going to have a couple that we're going to differ on. So, okay. Yeah, man, why don't we get into it?
Let's do it, man. So the first submission that I'm going to make for the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling's most comical moments happened in the early 90s, August of 1993. It was the debut of the Shockmaster.
That is my first choice as well, Chad.
Well, I guess it's going on Rushmore then.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about that moment.
Yeah.
So on Clash of the Champions 24, a new wrestler was set to debut. It was actually, I believe it was Fred Ottman, the former Tugboat and Typhoon character in the WWF.
Yes.
He was getting ready to debut in WCW. And if you're a wrestling fan, this should be common knowledge for you right now.
Yeah.
Because every wrestling fan of our age has probably seen this moment. But he was going to debut as a character called the Shockmaster. And his entrance was gonna bust through a wall
Right.
during a middle of was it Ric Flair? Was it?
So you had on one side you had Sting, Dustin Rhodes, and Davey Boy Smith, and they were gonna go up against Sid Vicious, Big Van Vader. Now I didn't know that Harlem Heat, when they first debuted, their names were Kane and Cole, but we know them as Booker T and Stevie Ray.
Yeah, that was their initial name.
Yeah, I did not know that.
Yeah, they had all the participants there, and Sting was introducing the character. He said that the person that was going to be their tag team partner was going to shock the world.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you see an explosion happen on the side of the interview. The camera cuts to a wall.
Yeah.
And somebody blasts through the wall, but unfortunately, and the story goes that they ran through this segment earlier in the day, and that somebody had put up a 2x4 between the wall that wasn't there prior in the early run through, and Fred Ottman, who was playing Shockmaster, he didn't see it. He tripped over that 2x4, fell on his face, his helmet topples over, and just comedy ensues. It was just one of those segments that it really ruined the Shockmaster, and I don't know if the Shockmaster could survive an embarrassing moment like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that, because, they're saying that this is regarded as the worst debut in wrestling history, and I don't remember seeing him at all after this. He might have wrestled in a few matches, but this kind of ruined that whole gimmick and whole debut for him there.
Yeah, it was doomed from that very moment. One of the funny things is that the character donned a helmet, a glittery helmet that looked like a stormtrooper. And they said that somebody needed to get a helmet. They went to the craft store, bought some glitter and some glue, and just basically made it a glittery helmet. Another funny moment is off to the side, you hear Davey Boy Smith kind of under his breath. He goes, I think he just fell on his arse.
Yeah. And I also have in my notes too, if you listen really close, you can hear Ric Flair in the background saying, "Oh no, oh my God."
Okay. I knew Flair had something to do with it. Yeah, he was probably watching it as it unfolded, but Clash of the Champions 24, August 1993. I think, Ken, I knew that you were going to pick that. I think any wrestling fan, that has to go up on Mount Rushmore. Just a comedy of errors that resulted in a wrestler who never really got off the ground. Poor Fred Ottman, man. He, his best days were behind him, and surely the Shockmaster debut and the failure to launch his character on that promo certainly didn't help his career later going forward.
Yes, that's definitely got to go on there. So we already have our first member of the Mount Rushmore is the debut of the Shockmaster.
Oh, awesome, man. Well, give me one of your contributions as one that should be up there as well.
All right. Now, I said that I think we're going to agree on two and maybe have two different. So I'm going to take a guess and say that you have this on yours as well. And this is the Stone Cold Steve Austin versus Booker T Supermarket Brawl.
I do not.
You do not?
I do not. And now I know what you're talking about, but go ahead and explain that segment.
All right. So this is the famous Supermarket Brawl. This aired on SmackDown December 13th, 2001. So basically, the whole premise of this storyline is that they were doing, remember the whole WCW, ECW invasion angle when Vince bought WCW?
Yep.
Okay, so in December of 2001, Stone Cold Steve Austin was enraged with Booker T for costing him the WWE Championship. On the December 13th episode of SmackDown, Austin stalked Booker T throughout the night, even following him to a grocery store once Booker fled from the arena. So this brawl resulted that has become the stuff of legend, with Austin attacking Booker in the aisles, covering him in Grey Poupon flour, pie, and later milk after popping out of the cooler. I think that's one of the funniest parts of that segment is Stone Cold disappears and then all of a sudden he comes out of a cooler with a jug of milk. And can't remember what he says to him, but let's see what else. This took place at a store called the Green Frog Market in Bakersfield, California. Just a little background on the store. It was built in 1934, and I don't know if it's still around today, but that's where they filmed the segment. So, like I said, Austin tormented Booker T around the arena. Booker T then thought a supermarket would be a safe place to hide. And this is coming after Booker T aligns with Vince McMahon after the Survivor Series WCW ECW invasion angle. The segment ends with Austin throwing Booker T onto a checkout belt and says, "Price check on a jackass." Just a couple other notes I have. Austin said in an interview that 95% of the scene was unscripted and they caused over $10,000 worth of damage to the store.
Yeah. I was wondering how much they had to pay to rent the store and then ruin it in the process,
Oh, man. And then one other thing I have, while this was going on, one of Jerry Lawler's classic lines from this segment, after Austin dumps flour on Booker T, he says, "Nothing says lovin' like something from the oven." So, yeah, that's all right. So I thought maybe you would have had this one, but that's one of my picks.
I'll tell you why I didn't have it, and it's because I think WWF dropped the ball when it came to the invasion angle. I mean, you remember Vince coming out on that last edition of Monday Nitro saying that he bought his competition, and WCW, even though it had been run for the last 2 years really bad and talent was just making their own decisions and just terrible leadership, wrestlers like Booker T, Buff Bagwell, they had some young talent that would have been great in the WWE. And of course, wrestlers like Booker T found success. Unfortunately, WCW had other superstars like Diamond Dallas Page, Sting, Paul, Nash, Goldberg, Hogan, and a lot of those top stars stayed home and got paid the rest of their WCW contract, and WWF didn't really capitalize on it. Now, of course, they did bring Goldberg, and of course, Goldberg would stay with the company off and on up until just a few months ago, right? Where he had his retirement match. Yeah. Sting was brought in. I mean, he kind of went the way of TNA, and when the WWE brought him in, it was way past Sting's good years,
Yeah, it was too late.
It was way too late, man. Yeah. And, Sting in the early 2000s, 2002, 2003, man, he would have been great in a program with Triple H, with The
Undertaker.
Rock, The Undertaker. I mean, I talk about icons, Sting and Undertaker.
Yeah, man.
I mean, Sting was so loyal to WCW, and when WCW went out of business, I think Vince dropped the ball. So, in that Booker T Stone Cold segment, while it was comical and one of the memorable ones, that's kind of when I thought that the WWF just dropped the ball. And that's kind of when my interest started waning. But I got to give you, man, like it's definitely one that I'll go back and watch every once in a while. So
yeah. All right, man. It looks like I'm going to have to maybe fight a little bit to get that one put up there. All right. Well, lay your second pick on me. What you got?
All right. Well, I'll go stay in the Stone Cold realm. Now, there's a lot of Stone Cold segments that he was famous for. But the one that I plucked out happened in March of 1999, and it's the famous Stone Cold beer truck segment. Was it one of your picks?
I had that on my honorable mention.
Honorable mention. Okay. Yep. So I'll have to fight for that a little bit.
All right.
So in March of 1999, this was one of the heights of the Attitude Era. Of course, the Attitude Era was symbolized by the struggle between Austin and McMahon. And Austin, who had every week there was something, Austin would get one over on McMahon and his cronies known as the Corporation. And then, of course, the following week, the Corporation would get one over on Stone Cold. Yeah. At one point, they threw Austin in jail. They would put Austin in against these impossible odds against wrestlers like fighting The Undertaker and Kane at the same time and stuff. So they were just trying to get the belt off of Stone Cold. In March of 1999, you know, basically, if you know this segment, you've seen it. It's Stone Cold, you know, the corporation's in the ring. They're calling out Stone Cold, and Stone Cold drives a Coors Light beer truck to the ring, and I think he drove it so far that it actually bumped the ring.
It did bump the ring, yeah.
Which I don't know. I don't know if that was part of the deal or not.
Probably
but
not.
Stone Cold gets out of the truck, and I guess somebody on the ground hands him like a hose.
Yeah.
And basically he just starts spraying the whole ring with beer, Coors Light. And
Right.
the funniest part about it is the way that McMahon and The Rock and Shane McMahon and Pat Patterson and Jerry Briscoe, who are all the cronies, they couldn't stand. They were slipping.
Yeah.
They were, and every time they'd get up, they'd fall. And imagine if you had bought a ticket to that show and you were sitting in one of the first few rows, man.
You were
Talk
getting
about-
hit.
Yeah, you were
Yeah.
getting more than what you bargained for.
Right.
But yeah, it's considered one of the most iconic moments of the Attitude Era, in my opinion. I mean, it showcases Austin's rebellious nature, and of course uses one of Austin's favorite things, beer, to tell a story and entertain folks. So that beer truck incident for me should belong up there. But yeah, I'll have to fight for it a little bit. But what you got? Any other thoughts of that moment?
Just pretty much, they always had Stone Cold driving some kind of vehicle. It seemed like, whether it was an ATV, a beer truck, like a construction vehicle pouring concrete into
Yep.
McMahon's car. Yeah,
Don't forget-
that definitely.
Don't forget the Zamboni.
The Zamboni, yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean that's a good pick, but yeah, we'll when we get down to it, we'll have to make a decision.
It was clear that the writers of the time didn't hold anything back on what Austin would drive, you know?
No, definitely.
And just, it wasn't too long ago when Austin came out at WrestleMania. Do you remember, was it this year or last year? He comes in a four-wheeler and he goes around the ring two or three times, and he ends up, I don't know if he was slightly hammered or just going so fast, but he ended up running into the barricade, knocking somebody over.
Yeah, that was just this past year at WrestleMania. Yeah.
Yeah. I think having a Stone Cold moment up on the Mount Rushmore just makes sense. But tell me what one of your next suggestions is going to be.
All right. Well, this one, I don't know, man. Now that I'm thinking about it, it might not belong up there, but I go back and watch this segment every once in a while. So this was from Monday Night Raw on March 5th, 2012 from Boston. So this is when John Cena and The Rock are having, I think, probably their first feud, and they're leading up to WrestleMania. And I don't think that The Rock really cared for John Cena in real life during this time. So they kind of had a personal feud going on too. So this had nothing to do, they hadn't touched each other yet, I don't think, like that. But this is out of Boston, and during the show Raw, The Rock was traveling throughout Boston giving history lessons of Boston and talking smack about John Cena during each little history lesson segment that he had on the show. So this one is The Rock history lesson number 2, and he's standing in front of a statue of Paul Revere, and he's got a cardboard cutout of John Cena, and he's talking about that if John Cena was in Paul Revere's shoes back in the 1700s, we'd all be under English control and, bowing to the Queen. And he just keeps going on and on about if Cena were there, we wouldn't be Americans and stuff like that. And then towards the end of the segment, The Rock he's sitting there wearing a Minuteman hat, and he sings this song. It's Yankee Doodle, but instead of singing Yankee Doodle, he says, Johnny Cena went to town riding on a pony. Rock stuck a feather up his ass and called him a jabroni. Every time I see this, man, I just crack up. And it was pretty it's maybe like a 3-minute segment, but to me, that was a funny one, and I always go back and watch that one. So that's one of my picks.
I got to tell you, Ken, I don't think I've ever seen that segment, to be quite
Oh
honest.
man, okay.
You said 2012?
2012, March
Yeah.
5th, 2012.
Yeah. I know that The Rock, ever since he kind of landed in Hollywood, he comes back and forth numerous times.
Yeah.
So obviously 2012, I don't think he was a full-timer. So
No.
he's probably in a quick program with him. And that's kind of been The Rock's thing up until even this year when he did his thing with Cody Rhodes?
Cody Rhodes, yeah.
So I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah.
Maybe that totally missed me.
Yeah, go check it out. It's pretty funny. It's called Rock History Lesson Number 2.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll probably lose out on that one, but it's a funny moment to me.
All right. Well, my next choice, I'm going to stay in the Attitude Era. That's my wheelhouse of wrestling knowledge. I'm going to go a little earlier than my last pick. This is July of 1998. And this is an infamous skit. They call it the DX parody skit, where DX parodies the Nation of Domination.
I didn't think, okay. I don't have this one. I kind of stayed away from it because of all the racial innuendos, but it's a funny one, man.
Yeah, some of this, a lot of this would not get past airwaves now.
Oh no.
But at the time, man, the Attitude Era just threw all caution to the wind. July 1998, you've got DX at the height of their popularity, and those members consisting of Shawn Michaels, who was actually at the time injured. So he wasn't actually in the skit, but you had Triple H, X-Pac, Road Dogg, Billy Gunn, and a newcomer who was basically just a comedian. His name is Jason Sensation. He stole the show. He appeared as Owen Hart. And my goodness, he was the star of the skit, in my opinion. Some things that you're saying, you're mentioning, Triple H comes out. He's got he's parodying The Rock.
Yeah.
But
the Croc.
They call him the Croc, right? Road Dogg comes out as D-Lo. Billy Gunn comes out as the Godfather, and X-Pac as Mark Henry, who is in blackface. So
man.
That by itself probably wouldn't fly this time. But going to Jason Sensation, he comes out. He's got the kind of like the caution tape strapped all over his body. Yeah. He's got a giant nose.
Right.
And he's making fun of Owen. He says stuff like, "I am not a nugget."
Yeah.
Because the crowd would often chant "nugget" for Owen Hart.
Right.
And this is kind of the time where Owen Hart is a heel. But somehow he ends up with the Nation of Domination. I don't know how that worked. But he also was making fun of the size of Owen's nose. He made a joke. He said, "Sorry I'm late, but my nose got here 15 minutes ago." Woohoo!
Yeah.
And his performance alone, combined with the stuff with DX, the nation was fuming, of course, when they saw this. And this kind of kicked off a series of skits where even in WCW, they had a skit where the NWO parodied the Four Horsemen in a way that I don't think was as funny. And some people saw it a little insensitive because they were making fun of Arn Anderson's real life issues with alcoholism, stuff like that. But that DX parody, DX by themselves had to appear on my list because they had so many skits where they just, they were reckless abandon. They could say what they wanted, do what they wanted. And it was that Attitude Era where they just let it all fly. And Vince McMahon got huge ratings because of it.
Yeah, man, I definitely thought about putting that one on there, but that deserves to be on there, so I might have to give up my last pick for that one.
Well, we'll see. What else you got?
All right. Well, my last pick here is from Monday Nitro, WCW Monday Nitro, December 28th, 1998 in Baltimore. And this segment is about 7 to 7.5 minutes long, and it's Ric Flair calling out Eric Bischoff. So the prior night, Eric Bischoff had beaten Ric Flair, And I think the stipulation for this match was whoever won would get to keep control of WCW for the next 90 days.
Mhm.
So Ric Flair lost. So he comes out the next night on Nitro here, and he's calling out Bischoff, and you want to hear him out for the very last time. So he comes out, and this is the promo where he starts taking off articles of clothing, and he takes off his shirt, and then he takes his pants off, and he's down to
he throws his shoes out to the crowd.
He throws his shoes to the crowd. He takes off his $30,000 Rolex. I don't know if he throws that into the crowd, but then he takes $100 bills out of his pocket and starts tearing them up and throwing them on the ground. And
he's basically down to his boxer shorts, right?
He's down in his boxers, and this is where he's strutting across the ring, and then he elbow drops some of his articles of clothing, and he's getting all fired up, and he tells Bischoff if he doesn't come out there by the next segment. Oh, what he does first before that is he handcuffs himself to one of the ropes, and then he yells, if you're not out here, Bischoff, by the time we come back, he goes, I'll be naked. So I always thought that was a pretty, when Ric Flair gets worked up, man, he cuts some serious promos, but they're also really funny. And I thought that one maybe deserves to be on there. That's one of my favorite promos from Flair.
That's a good pick, man. I definitely had it in my mind. And I do remember that moment, man. Flair was unhinged. And of course, as only Flair can deliver a promo, man, he was like a crazed man, just pulling off clothes, throwing them to the crowd. Yeah, who knows if any of them caught Ric Flair's shoe or Rolex that day, but that makes a great display piece.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, man.
So, those are my 4 picks. I know we got one already that we're going to put up there, but you got one more here.
Yeah, I got one more here, and it actually involves Ric Flair, but it's not 1990s Ric Flair, and it's not WCW Ric Flair. It's 2010 TNA. Now, I did not watch any TNA, but when this segment happened, it kind of became viral, especially in the wrestling world. I'm going to call this segment the Jay Lethal Ric Flair Woo-Off.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about. So if those are listening unfamiliar, I don't know a whole lot about the background of their feud. I think this might have been scripted. I don't think this was off the cuff because of the way that the camera works.
Yeah.
It's going back and forth, like 2 seconds back and forth to Lethal to Ric Flair. And basically Ric Flair's in the ring. He's talking and he's doing a promo, and Jay Lethal comes out, and Jay Lethal has a very good impression of Ric Flair. A lot of people, Ric Flair is he's very easily imitated, his mannerisms, his catchphrases, things like that. And Lethal comes out and he basically does Flair's voice, and it kind of culminates into each one of them saying woo.
Yeah.
Or it seemed like 4 or 5 straight minutes. And like I said, the camera cuts back and forth to Lethal, to Flair, back to Lethal, back to Flair. Yeah. And it's known on the internet as the woo off. I was a little unsure putting a TNA moment on the Mount Rushmore. And, with some of the picks you've said, I have to consider maybe changing that. But it was, to me, it's just so iconic and so funny that's what I landed on for my 4th Rushmore pick. So do you have any thoughts of the Ric Flair woo-off?
The only thing that I can tell you is I just seen clips of it on YouTube. I don't think I watched it as it happened live. I really didn't watch TNA all that much either. Yeah. I've just seen the clips of it. It's funny.
Yeah, there was nothing about TNA that really caught my attention. I know a lot of the former WCW folks kind of landed there. You had Jeff Jarrett, Kevin Nash, Sting, Hogan was there, Flair, of course. And, TNA still, I think, is around.
It is, yeah.
And some folks have come from TNA. I'm thinking folks like Samoa Joe, AJ Styles,
right?
Those kinds of wrestlers. but it still isn't, it's not, to me, it's not even on the level today of AEW, and
No.
certainly not WWE. So,
Right.
so those are our four picks. We matched on the one for sure.
Yep.
So we basically have three to decide on.
Yeah.
What were some of your honorable mentions? Just kind of quick hitters.
Okay. Some of my picks for honorable mentions were Shawn Michaels overselling to Hulk Hogan.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
move that Hogan did to Michaels, he would just really oversell it, and I think he was really actually kind of angry that Hogan was back in WWE and kind of taking over again. And yeah, and everybody says, you gotta sell out for Hogan, so he kind of took it up a notch. And yeah, whatever
It's-
move he did to him, he like oversell it like way too much.
Yeah, Shawn Michaels, I feel like that might have been a bit of sabotage there.
Yeah, I had the Stone Cold beer bath
Uh-huh.
on there. I also had the Kurt Angle milk bath when he
Yes.
came out with a milk truck and
Yep.
sprayed people down with milk.
Yeah, to me, that was a clear carbon copy of Austin's beer truck.
Yeah.
But it worked for Angle in the milk.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a segment where Stone Cold and Kurt Angle both have cowboy hats on, but
Mhm.
Stone Cold has a regular cowboy hat and Kurt Angle has like a little kitty 3-year-old like little cowboy hat on his head. I don't know exactly what the segment was about, but I also remember that one.
Right.
The segment called "This Is Your Life" with The Rock and Mankind.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's my honorable mention.
That one, yeah, that was on my honorable mention. I could have maybe put that one up for my Rushmore, but
Foley brings back an old girlfriend and a gym
Yeah.
teacher and a school teacher.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, that's about it that I had for honorable mentions.
Okay. Well, let me show you some of mine. The This Is Your Life segment with Mick Foley and The Rock. I put on here, this wasn't a single segment. It was just kind of a recurring theme. It was Kane tombstoning Pete Rose.
Oh, yeah.
I think 2 times at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Just for some odd reason, Kane and Pete Rose found themselves in a feud all the time. And
Right.
it always ended up with Pete Rose getting tombstoned. The Rock, he had a few of them. He had one with Vicky Guerrero where he was pretending to sing her a song.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it was to the tune of Eric Clapton's You Look Wonderful Tonight.
Yeah.
And he changed the words for You Look Horrible
Yeah.
Tonight.
Right.
The crowd ate that up.
Yeah.
Another Rock segment, he's a heel and he's in Sacramento. Yeah, he's in Sacramento.
The Rock
And
concert.
The
Yeah.
Rock concert, yep.
Right.
And one of the lines, he says he'll be sure to come back when the Lakers beat the Kings in May.
Yeah.
And boy, that crowd went ballistic, scattering
Right.
booze all over The Rock. And he ate it up, and he was having the time of his life.
Yeah.
Something that was unintentional. This happened like 4 or 5 years ago, and this is not wrestling that I really pay attention to, but do you remember Titus O'Neil coming to the Royal Rumble?
Yeah.
And he trips and falls under the ring.
Under the ring, man. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, that I think was not meant to happen, but it
No.
became sort of a viral moment for him.
Sure.
There was a segment where Kane was teaming with The Rock and Hogan, and Kane busts into the locker room and he takes the catchphrases of The Rock and
Yeah.
Hogan.
I do have that one on my honorable mentions.
Do you? Yeah. I thought that one was good.
Yeah.
And then the last one I'll mention is there was a skit, and this is the Attitude Era yet again. It was Mr. McMahon was in the hospital,
Yeah.
and the whole night people came and visited him, and Mick Foley comes in, and that's where Mr. Sacco is introduced,
Yeah.
and he tries to cheer up Mr. McMahon, and he brings in a clown that makes balloon animals.
Right.
And McMahon's mad, and he's just like, get out of here. And it kind of culminates into Stone Cold sneaking into his room disguised as a doctor. He proceeds to beat down Vince McMahon. He hits him with a bedpan.
Oh, yeah. When he hits him with that bedpan, man, I think he really nailed him.
Yeah. It was a great segment. And it's kind of like your grocery store segment. They had to reserve some hospital room and they used all the props that you can use in that hospital room. So
Oh yeah.
I that was close to making my Rushmore, but one of the other ones I just thought beat it out. So those are great picks, man.
Yeah.
A lot of them are a lot more newer. Like I couldn't think of anything in the 80s, like the golden era, that to me was funny,
Yeah, not really, because the characters were kind of pretty much like comic cartoon type characters, and
Yeah.
I mean, Piper's Pit had some funny skits on there, but
Yeah.
nothing really like too overly comedic though.
No, and shout out to Bobby Heenan and Gorilla
Oh.
Monsoon. I mean,
Oh, they were, yeah.
yeah, anytime they were on the air, that was funny.
Did you ever that show Primetime Wrestling where it was Gorilla and Heenan? That had
Oh,
some
yeah.
funny stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. But see that it was like an every week thing, there
Yeah.
was something, and it was always Bobby that was
Right.
being the brunt of the joke or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was, for me, it was like when wrestling started doing more realism and stuff, that's when the comedy really came in. Of course, the Shockmaster was just an accidental thing, right? But it
Right.
will go in infamy, and
Oh,
of
yeah.
course that's why me and you both agree that it's going up there. So,
Yeah.
what do you think? How should we come to an agreement here?
Well, we got the Shockmaster.
So
I
I think
will-
here's what I think. I think you had a Stone Cold segment, I had a Stone Cold segment. We figure out maybe we got to have Stone Cold up there.
Yeah.
Did you have a Rock segment? Yeah, you did. You had Rock and Cena.
I had that one. I'm willing to concede that one for one of yours.
Okay. So here's what I'll do. To me, out of your two picks, the one that I would think is least deserving is that Cena Rock one. So
Okay.
I will, if you're cool with it, I'll give you the grocery store segment
Okay.
with Booker T and Stone Cold, and you give me the DX parody segment, which of course features The Rock.
I'll agree to that.
Okay. So we say Shockmaster. We say
Shockmaster.
the DX parody. We're going to say
Yep.
the Booker T Stone Cold brawl in the grocery store.
Yep.
Now that just leaves one more choice. Now, both of us had a Flair moment.
Right.
Do we figure out which one there, or do we go with one that we had as an honorable mention? Maybe, I mean, you did say that, we both had This Is Your Life as an honorable mention. Do we want to
I think we could maybe put that one up there.
Yeah, that's one that we both we knew we liked it. It didn't make any of our lists. So
Right.
what does that put our Rushmore at?
So we have the Shockmaster, we have the Austin Booker T Supermarket Brawl, and that we have the DX parody of the Nation of Domination, and then we would have the This Is Your Life segment with The Rock and Mankind.
I'm good with that, man. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid Rushmore, I think.
We compromised a little bit each,
Right.
and I like all four of those moments. I'm very familiar with them. You're very familiar with them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I'm willing to take the woo off moment just because it was TNA in a federation that really nobody,
Right.
a true wrestling fans would know it, but like the average person probably wouldn't know it. But they probably have seen the skit because again, it was bigger than the whole federation, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I'm willing to give up the Flair meltdown where he takes his clothes off, because he really wasn't in there with any other wrestlers. He was just in there with Mean Gene cutting a promo. So I mean, it was funny, but it's I don't know if it deserves to be on a Rushmore. Yeah.
Well, I think we're in agreement then. We got our four.
Sure. Yeah, I'm good with it.
Yeah, man. Well, this has been fun. And we mentioned a whole lot of moments. Maybe what I'll have to do in the show notes, I need to link each of the moments we mentioned in a YouTube link, so our viewers can just click through and watch each of these skits, each of these segments.
Right.
Listeners, what do you guys think? Share your comments, especially the wrestling fans out there of the podcast world. Did we get it right? Did we miss one? Did we fail to mention one that should have been on this list?
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts. Ken, before we go, we solicited the help of our buddy over at the Retro Network, the wrestling guru himself, Mr. Kevin Hellions. He runs a blog, Hellions Talk, and has a podcast, and he does a lot of good writing over there at TRN. And I knew he's a big wrestling fan. He loves today's wrestling. He loves wrestling, the era that we watched. So one of the things we did was we had him chime in, and he sent us a little recording of his Mount Rushmore. And I thought, let's listen to his thoughts, and let's see if we matched any of his picks and see how many we got to match. What do you say?
Yeah, man. Yeah, let's listen to it. I'm curious to hear what he's got.
Alrighty.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kevin Hellions, and as the reigning and defending peak wrestling fan of the Retro Network, it is my honor and privilege to be invited here on the Retro Resurgence Podcast to discuss my own Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling's funniest moments. Now, I have watched wrestling ever since WrestleMania 3. My babysitter had recorded it through some sort of legal means, I am sure, and it was in the room and on the shelf with the rest of the videotaped things we could watch. Goonies, Gremlins, Monster Squad, Ghostbusters, and WrestleMania 3. And I have not stopped watching it ever since. WWF, WWE, WCW, ECW, AEW, and all sorts of independent wrestling throughout time. So I thought long and hard about what my favorite, funniest moments in wrestling are. Now, this is just my 4 favorites right now in this call. Wrestling has a wealth of wonderful moments. Next week, I might pick something different. But right now, this is what I'm going with. First of all, I still think it's funny to this day because it was not a planned moment at all. It is a true error, blooper, unplanned, hilarious moment in professional wrestling history. This was at the greatest Royal Rumble event, in which Titus O'Neil is running down to enter the Royal Rumble, and he trips right before getting to the ring. He slides on the floor, and he slides so far he slides right in underneath the ring and completely disappears. Complete accident, complete mistake, and one of the funniest things you will see, because here's this giant 6'6", 300 plus pound man tripping and sliding and disappearing under the ring. Fantastic. And the reaction of the entire crowd knowing that they saw something absurd makes it even better. Next, I have a controversial one, and I will be very careful with my language. However, Booker T, as part of the tag team of Harlem Heat, challenging Hulk Hogan, is one of the funniest accidental swears I have ever seen, not only in wrestling, but in all of television. Hulk Hogan, we coming for you, and Booker continues to talk. And then he has this reaction where he puts his hands up and is trying to put his head in his hands because he realized what he just said and he screwed up. And everyone else in the interview tries to proceed and cover, but they also realize how much he has screwed up, and it is hilarious. Number 2, the debut of the Shockmaster in WCW. I do not think anything can compete with this. For those who might not know, Sting and the British Bulldog Davey Boy Smith are about to have a match. against Sid and Harlem, the aforementioned Harlem Heat. This challenge is taking place on Ric Flair's talk show segment that was part of WCW, Flair for the Gold. And Sting and Davey Boy Smith are about to introduce their tag team partner. Tag team partner will be played by Fred Ottman, who many know as Tugboat or Typhoon in WWE. He jumps over to WCW, good friends with a lot of people there, and they decide that his intimidating presence should be best displayed with a sleeveless fur vest and a glitter-painted stormtrooper helmet. As if that wasn't already enough, Shockmaster is supposed to burst through a wall and be all sorts of intimidating. Smoke will go off. Pyro. He bursts through a wall. What a strong man. Instead, the construction of the wall to ensure that the place he would bust into stays up during the show was a little too sturdy. And instead of busting through the wall looking intimidating, he tripped over the support for it. The helmet goes flying, and the character is ruined from day one. Not that I think a character in a glitter stormtrooper outfit was ever going to succeed. Anyways, number 1, again, WrestleMania 3, child of the 80s. And I'm going to cheat here, guys. I'm going to cheat because I can't pick just one. What I will say is go to YouTube, go to your favorite WWE historical site, whether it's the WWE Vault channel or whether it's what other people post on YouTube, and just watch any episode of Primetime Wrestling with Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon as the host. A comedy duo like no other, with the ranks of Abbott and Costello, the straight man and the Joker, the face and the heel, to be honest. It is tremendous. Anytime those two got together and just riff on each other, and you can tell the whole point is to get the other to break. And it's hilarious. I truly, truly believe if you are looking to be a funny, entertaining, comedic person today, watch these old episodes and steal liberally from them. Absolutely tremendous work. Speaking of tremendous work, I would like to thank you too for putting on the Retro Resurgence, a wonderful podcast from the Retro Network. It makes me feel so happy every time there's a new episode. I look forward to you guys doing this for many years to come and to teach me things that I might miss during the weeks of new toys, new things coming out, news, and to reminisce on stories from the past and things that meant a lot to us when we were younger and maybe still means a lot to us today. Thank you so much, guys. You mean a lot to me today. I look forward to hearing you more, and who knows, maybe you'll hear me more.
Kevin, man, coming through for us. Thanks, man. We appreciate you recording that little 7.5 minute segment.
Thank you.
What do you think of his picks, Ken?
Definitely. Well, we agreed on the Shockmaster. Like we said, I think everybody's got that one on theirs.
I think if you don't pick that one, you're not a wrestling fan.
Right.
You know?
Right. And then, well, he had on there, we were talking about Primetime Wrestling there with Heenan and Gorilla. So he's got, we kind of agreed with that one. And then you had mentioned the Titus O'Neil.
I did.
So he's got that one on there. And then, of course, the flub by Booker T from Harlem Heat calling out Hogan.
Did you, you know what he's talking about there?
I know what he's talking about, yeah.
Yeah, that one, I mean, it's a good pick. Yeah, you definitely have to be careful words, especially in today's world. But, what a flub by Booker T. I mean, just naturally cutting a promo like he was on the streets of Harlem, man. But I like his picks.
I do too. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the great thing about this is that, like he said, wrestling has given us so many not just comical moments, man. It's given us sentimental moments. We talked a few episodes back of during our summer episode, we talked about Americana moments in wrestling. And you remember the first SmackDown after 9/11?
Yeah.
You remember when Osama bin Laden was killed and John Cena made the announcement to a live crowd? I mean, the patriotic moments, the sad moments, wrestling can do that, right? I mean, it takes us to the height of and joys of and just ultimate satisfaction to some of the most sad and somber moments, I guess, that you feel for those wrestlers because they're human and real life happens to us and stuff like that. So I think, I think he had, obviously we did match on all of our picks with the Shockmaster one, but Kev, man, you in your kind words at the end, man, that really touched me, and I know it touched Ken. So appreciate your giving us that little segment there, Kev.
Yeah, thank you very much. We're glad that you like the show, and we hope to do this for quite a while, and maybe have him on on an episode coming up, maybe next year, something like that, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds good.
But yeah, man, so just to go over our decision for our Mount Rushmore one more time, Chad, we have the Shockmaster debut, the Stone Cold Booker T Supermarket Brawl, the DX parody of Nation of Domination, and then the This Is Your Life segment with The Rock and Mankind.
I'm happy with those picks, man. I think we came up with a good list.
Yeah, we did.
So again, listeners, let us know your thoughts. Now you hear Kevin's picks. You've got Ken and my picks. What are your picks? Let us know over there on Instagram, Twitter. Go to the retroresurgence.com. Give us some feedback via email. We'll read it out on the next episode. And Ken, what a great topic to get us started on year 2.
Yeah, fun topic to start off year 2. We like talking wrestling here, and I'm sure we'll have more wrestling shows in the future. All right, Chad. Well, episode 25 in the books, kicking off year 2 of the show. I thought it was a great topic to start off with. What did you think?
Yeah, it's been fun, man. And Ken, I know I said this several times, but looking forward to growing with you here on year 2.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing the episodes that we have lined up for the rest of the year and then going into next year. And yeah, Chad, it's always fun coming down here, getting on the microphone to talk with you every couple weeks. And I'm looking forward to all the episodes that we have yet to record for the rest of the year and going into next year. And yeah.
And Ken, like we mentioned in the last episode, we're still going to go with our every 2-week release. Friday mornings, you can catch these episodes of the Retro Resurgence dropping every other Friday over there on your favorite podcast app. Also encourage listeners to check out our home base, theretronetwork.com. Of course, a lot of good folks over there like Kevin and others who talk all kinds of good nostalgic stuff like wrestling, toys, video games, comics, you name it. You can find it over there on the Retro Network. So, Ken, it's been fun.
Yep, Chad, it's been fun. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you for listening to the Retro Resurgence Podcast. You can find us on most major podcast platforms, including Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also find us on social media. On Instagram, at the Retro Resurgence. On X, at Retro Resurgence. Our email address is theretroresurgence@gmail.com. And lastly, you can find us online at our home base, www.theretronetwork.com, where you'll find lots of great people and retro articles and content. Join us again in 2 weeks, here on the Retro Resurgence Podcast. See you next time.
This has been a presentation of the Retro Network.